Hey everybody, Razor Mouth. Wow, what a weekend, what a weekend. By now, like myself, you probably woke up to the news that the Trump legal team has distanced itself from Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell was the lawyer that represented General Flynn in that case against the U.S. Department of Justice and General Flynn on basically an entrapment, where the FBI entrapped him and basically pursued a bogus criminal case against him. And the judge in that case has been trying to try him for treason. Anyways, that's still an ongoing issue. And but Sidney Powell came to fame, as it were, as a result of that, because she was the only lawyer that had the gonads and the gumption to actually fight the entire State Department and beat back the bogus claims. Well, Sidney's been an active member of this legal fight to protect the 2020 U.S. election, and namely protect the lawful win of President Donald J. Trump. But on the weekend, the Trump team did what, for you and I, the average Joe consumer of news and ongoings, is like, what? Let me just say, what I have to say here is totally based on speculation. I don't know. I don't have an inside scoop. I don't have a direct line to President Trump or to the team or to Sidney Powell or to any of the insiders. So like you, I'm sitting back and I'm just taking it in like you are and wondering what the, you know what I mean, right? What's the deal here? Because of how it looks. I mean, let's be honest. How does it look? It looks ridiculous. Like right now, you would think, just humanly speaking, that you would want to keep as many of your allies within the camp rather than to isolate and distance yourself, because you know how the press is going to take this. In fact, this is a foreign press, the BBC. We all know the BBC is, so objective. But just read the headline: Sidney Powell, Trump team cuts ties with lawyer who peddled bizarre fraud claims. I mean, and then that's the least offensive headline that's out there. Just Google it. You got everything under the sun, and then all of the naysayers and the republican-pukes like Chris Christie are now jumping on this. But so first of all, let's be clear. What did the Trump campaign actually state? Here is the actual press release. Okay, came out yesterday, Sunday. Quote: Sidney Powell is practicing law on her own. She is not a member of the Trump legal team. She is also not a lawyer for the president in his personal capacity, end quote. And then it's signed Rudy Giuliani, attorney for President Trump, and Jenna Ellis, Trump campaign senior legal advisor and attorney for President Trump. That's it. That's the statement. It's just basically saying that in all technicality, Sidney Powell is not actually an official member of the team and not officially a lawyer for President Trump. And there is no other context. There's nothing else to be said here, which of course leads the bizarro press, the sycophants on the left, and the never Trumpers and all of those pukes. Pardon my language if some of you find that offensive. It's the least offensive thing I can call them at this point, without degenerating into vulgar, much more vulgar language. But that's as far as the statement goes. There's really no context. It doesn't say anything. And it's a head scratcher, because you have to ask yourself, what is the point? What does that do? Why do this? Because you know exactly how the press is going to take it. And let's be honest, people. As much as this is a legal battle and the team is focused on winning in the courts, because of all the big hoopla, but where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? Point of note here, that same press never said a thing about where's the evidence for the Russia, for the connection between Trump and the Russians, where's the evidence, the conclusive evidence? They were willing to string that along for 2 years and giving the Mueller team all of the rope they needed to just be patient. It'll come out. But suddenly now there's such an urgency for the evidence. We all know why. Because this is something for them to use as a battering ram to hit Trump supporters over. I get the trolls on this site all the time trying to batter me and batter those of you who are supporters of Trump with that Billy stick. And by the way, you trolls that come on this site, let me be the first to tell you, I'm one person that does believe in censorship of the left. I could care less if you think it's a double standard, because we live in a world of double standards. And if you're a troll on this site and I catch your comments and I personally don't find them flattering or edifying in any way, I'm going to delete them. I don't care what you have to say. I don't do this to engage in a dialogue. You hear that all the time. Let's just have a dialogue. I think we're beyond dialogue now. This has gone to such a different level. This site exists as an encouragement to Trump supporters to remain strong and to point out all the nonsense in the media. That's why it's called Trump the Media. That's why the site exists. It's not. I'm definitely not interested in an ongoing dialogue with the left and trolls, because first of all, you can't have a dialogue with them. They believe their nonsense, and we believe in the truth. And you can't have a rational discussion with somebody that believes in propaganda and lies. Of course, that's exactly what they think of us. So there is no dialogue. And most of them that jump on this site aren't actually interested in dialogue. They're just interested in poking fun, laughing, ad hominem attacks, all of that, right? And I have no interest in that. And so in most cases, I'll just delete your comment if I catch it. And I don't care. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'm just not interested in that. Well, let's get back to the point. So you have this statement from the Trump team that basically distanced itself on a technical point from Sidney Powell. And those of us are, wondering what's going on, because we do believe that there's been rampant fraud on a systemic level, are asking ourselves, what was the point of that statement? What could lead the Trump team to do this, knowing how the traitorous enemy of the people press corps is going to do with this? So let me just put it out here. This is just speculation. I don't know for sure, but I have a suspicion that the reason this was done has everything to do with the state of Georgia and the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp. I don't know if you watch Newsmax, but on Sunday, Sidney Powell was on Newsmax. And well, this is really important to understanding, I think, contextually, what's going on underneath. Let me just play this excerpt.
1,000 votes. And what you see, will Georgia switch?
Yeah, that's a total farce. Georgia's probably going to be the first state I'm going to blow up, and Mr. Kemp and the Secretary of State need to go with it, because they're in on the Dominion scam with their last-minute purchase or award of a contract to Dominion of $100 million. The State Bureau of Investigation for Georgia ought to be looking into financial benefits received by Mr. Kemp and the Secretary of State's family about that time. And another benefit Dominion was created to award is what I would call election insurance. That's why Hugo Chavez had it created in the first place. But I also wonder where he got the technology, where it actually came from, because I think it's hammer and scorecard from the CIA.
Just to clarify, you're saying that Governor Kemp, who's been a longtime ally of the president, is directly involved because of financial benefit in the conspiracy to defeat the president in Georgia?
Okay, I just want to pause it there. That, I think, is what's underlying this distance. I think that unlike most of the other players, Sidney Powell is either totally off the beaten path and irrational and insane, which I personally don't think, or she's the only one that really gets that if we're going to win this, if Trump is going to win this, we got to get serious about what's really taking place. And we're going to have to go after some of our own quote unquote allies. Allies like Pat Toomey, the senator of PA, who's a complete ridiculous moron, or the senator of Utah, Mitt Romney, another one who's an idiot, and Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey. There's so many of these turncoat Republican pukes who've already shown what they really are. But Governor Brian Kemp is an interesting case. Notice that unlike Florida and the governor there, Ron DeSantis, who was an avid supporter of President Trump and pulled out the red carpet, as it were, throughout the entire campaign season, and Trump visited Florida repeatedly, time and time again. My sense was, and this is just as an observer, just like you, because I've often said the reason I do this isn't because I consider myself some great sage or some expert opinion personnel. I could care less about the experts. I am a consumer of news, like many of you, who found myself getting really angry at my TV set and throwing things at it. And then one day a friend said, "Stop yelling at your TV. If you got something to say, then share it with other people, because you're not unlike everybody else out there who's just livid right now." So that's why I do what I do and call myself Razor Mouth. The point is that I noticed during the campaign season that Governor Kemp didn't appear to be that outspoken and upfront about his support for Trump. And that could be because of some bad blood over the COVID lockdown and then the opening up. I don't know exactly, but I was wondering. And then there was that fiasco, that tryst between them over the appointment of Loeffler, the senator, who wasn't a real advocate of President Trump, more of an establishment Republican. So there was a bunch of tension there, right? And I remember wondering, but everybody was saying, Georgia's locked up, nothing to worry about. Isn't it interesting? Georgia wasn't locked up. Georgia was a state that was ripe for this kind of fraud to take place. And Sidney Powell is pointing clearly at this state and clearly at the governor and the secretary general for corruption. She comes out and says it. No one has said that. No one has dared to say what so many of us actually feel and think, that there is rampant corruption amongst the establishment Republican elite. They're no different than the Democrats. They're a bunch of rats and snakes. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sidney Powell's right. Now, listen, for her to come out and say that without the evidence, she would be certifiably insane. My sense is she's not. She's telling us the truth, unvarnished truth. It may not be wise to have put it out so quickly at this point, but she's telling us the truth. That's what my gut tells me. You tell me any different. I think she's telling us the truth. Notice how the Newsmax personality there, I forget his name now, used to be on Bloomberg, doubles down and questions her on it. I'm just gonna back it up a bit here. He's like, what? What are you trying to say?
CIA.
Just to clarify, you're saying that Governor Kemp, who's been a longtime ally of the president, is directly involved because of financial benefit in the conspiracy to defeat the president in Georgia?
Now, before she goes down on this and doubles down on it, let's just say this is such a typical press question. Are you trying to say that Governor Kemp, who's been a longtime ally, says who? I mean, I just outlined that there was tension between the two of them. I don't get the sense that he's a major ally of the president. He strikes me as exactly like all those other establishment Republicans that treats Donald Trump with disdain and distance. There isn't a close affinity between him and the president, at least not that I'm aware of. I'm not sure any of you are aware of it, but it's such a typical question from the press, even from the conservative press, Newsmax. So anyways, enough of me. What does Powell say?
We have certainly been told that there is evidence of that, and it would warrant an investigation if anybody were actually going to do an honest investigation.
What more could you tell us about that alleged conspiracy? Is the governor's
alleged conspiracy?
Yeah, I can't give you any more details on that now, but it would certainly warrant an investigation. Sure. If it had been reported to me as a law enforcement officer, I would be investigating it steadfastly.
Okay, alleged conspiracy. Everything with these guys is alleged conspiracy. There's no alleged conspiracy in the sense that Brian Kemp is probably not a big fan of Donald Trump. Anyway, she doubles down on her assertion, and she says if she were an investigative, had the authority to investigate as a representative of the Department of Justice, she would be looking into mass corruption on the part of Governor Brian Kemp and the Secretary General Rothenberger, who, by the way, is not a Trump supporter at all. She'd be now that was explosive. I mean, that's really the point. What she said the other day, this here was explosive. This is the only reason I can think the Trump team has issued this statement of distancing itself. Let's go back to it. From Sidney Powell. And again, the statement by the Trump team is rather innocuous in that it doesn't say anything other than just spells out, hey, she's kind of working on her own. So it's not necessarily a rebuke, which is how the press wants to take this. It's a rebuke. I think what the Trump team is doing is kind of playing a little bit of defense, because I think what's going on is the Georgia state, Governor Brian Kemp, Secretary General Rothberger are the ones that are crying foul here. And the Trump team kind of needs them, I mean, even Governor Kemp, Brian Kemp of Georgia, made this statement on Friday in which he expressed disappointment with Rothenberger's recount effort. I just want to play this quickly because I think it's contextually important.
Purpose. However, it's quite honestly hard to believe that during the audit, thousands of uncounted ballots were found weeks after a razor-thin outcome in a presidential election. This is simply unacceptable. I've heard directly from countless Georgians. They expect better and they deserve better. It's important to note that this audit only looked at ballots, not the signatures on the absentee applications or the signatures on the ballot envelopes. The Georgians I've heard from are extremely concerned about this. So I encourage Secretary Raffensperger to consider addressing these concerns. It seems simple enough to conduct a sample audit of signatures on the absentee ballot envelopes and compare those to the signatures on applications and on file at the Secretary of State's office.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. So, folks, this is the only place I think you're going to hear this kind of analysis. Doesn't make me brilliant. It just, I had to question that statement from the Trump team. Why on earth would they be releasing this now? What would have prompted this? And especially since the statement doesn't say much other than a technicality that she's not actually an official member of the Trump legal team, that she is her own lawyer operating on her own behest. Why on earth? The only thing I could think of that made any kind of strategic sense is the fact that she's come out now and pointed fingers squarely at this gentleman here, Governor Brian Kemp, and the Secretary of the State, Rothberger, who is clearly not an advocate of Trump. As I pointed out earlier, I think there's tension between Brian Kemp and President Trump. I'm not sure it's on the same level of animosity between the Secretary of State in Georgia, Rothberger, and Trump, but it's there. But what we've discovered here is that when Powell made that statement Sunday, this is after Governor Kemp made this press conference on Friday in which he personally says that he's not happy with the recount effort that was conducted by the Secretary of State. Probably just a political statement, Sidney's saying that there's a cover-up here, there's corruption, that both are pocketing great amounts of money by having bought the Dominion software. Anyways, the long and the short of it is that is what caused this statement from the Trump team. That's the only thing that can explain it. And clearly, to an objective observer, there seems to be some tension between Governor Kemp and even his Secretary of State. So listen, let's all take a deep breath. Let's just chill out here. It's not the end of the world. Was it wise for the Trump team to issue that press release? I don't know. I personally don't know. Maybe it's strategically a smart move, given that the Trump team needs Brian Kemp to take this seriously. I don't know. That's just my speculation. And I do think, though, that at this point, there is no benefit in advertising intramural and inside baseball type issues. The differences of strategy between Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Joe DeGeneva, and Sidney Powell, I don't think that needs to be projected and publicized, because in the hands of a leftist, sycophantic press, it can do no good. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. If you like what I have to say, let me know. Share it. Follow me. Always happy to hear what you have to think. Keep the faith, everybody. Take care.